So very good morning, everyone. So welcome you all to the second day of the FTP. So Padre sir, shall we get started?
Yes. Ma'am, am I audible, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. You can. Ma'am, can I start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A warm welcome to day 2, session 1 to all. It gives immense pleasure to introduce today's chief guest, Dr. S. Bhaskar, Professor and Dean of R&D, Theology College of Engineering, Madurai, and he has completed his undergraduate in the Department of EEE at Theology College of Engineering, Madurai, and he did his master in Control and Instrumentation from Anna University, and he has completed his postdoc at Madurai Kamaraj University. Also, he has completed his PhD from Madurai Kamaraj University, and he has completed his postdoc from NTU Singapore. Coming to his teaching experience, he has more than 28 years of teaching experience. And publications, he has published more than 87 papers in reputed journals and 38 papers in conferences, and sponsored research and consultancy. He has done many. He has been acting as the principal investigator of more than 2 to 3 projects under UGC for the amount of around 15 lakhs. He has guided more than 20 PhD scholars, and he has given around more than 50 lectures to other reputed universities as well as colleges. And coming to his awards, he has received many awards. I want to mention some. He is the recipient of Boys Quest Fellowship for Young Scientists from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And he is the gold medal, first rank holder during his undergraduate. And he has visited more than 4 to 5 abroad universities. And with these few words, I welcome Dr. S. Bhaskar to this session. The topic is, as everyone knows, it is Bloom's taxonomy. I hope so everyone will enjoy this session. So with these few words, now once again I welcome Dr. S. Bhaskar, sir. Sir, the forum is yours, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all present here. Whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you, one and all, for your introduction. I take this opportunity to thank PSG iTech for giving this opportunity. I also thank all the coordinators for wonderfully arranging this program for the benefit of teaching community. I also congratulate all the participants for attending this program. Today, I'm going to discuss about Bloom's taxonomy for the next 1.5 hours. Based on my experience in Bloom's taxonomy, I'm working with Bloom's taxonomy for the last 7-8 years from 2012. I'm going to share that experience with you. Here you can see that the number of experts working in associated with Bloom's taxonomy, Benjamin Bloom's and other team members. Here I am going to deliver the information to achieve the following session outcomes. At the end of this session, the participants will be able to appreciate the role of Bloom's taxonomy in improving the quality of teaching learning. This is the promise given to all the participants. If you sincerely attend this session for 1.5 hours, maybe at the end of this session, each and every successful participant will have these outcomes. The first outcome is appreciate the role of Bloom's taxonomy in improving quality of teaching learning. Here I am going to cover 3 domains of learning in engineering education, namely knowledge domain, affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. Then we are going to discuss the classification of cognitive domain with respect to original Bloom's taxonomy and revised Bloom's taxonomy. Then explain the classification of affective domain of learning. Then finally explain the classification of psychomotor domain of learning. Therefore, there are 5 outcomes. First, appreciate the role of Bloom's taxonomy in teaching learning. 3 different learning domains, then knowledge domain in 2 different classification. One is original Bloom's taxonomy and revised Bloom's taxonomy. Then classification of affective domain and the classification of psychomotor domain. Before going to discuss further, I want to get your opinion or your reflection with respect to Bloom's taxonomy. In your opinion, what is the role of Bloom's taxonomy in teaching learning? Some of you may be already familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy, maybe using Bloom's taxonomy for your day-to-day teaching learning activities. For the purpose of further discussion, I'm expecting your reflection with respect to taxonomy in teaching learning. Maybe participants, please reply in the chat box. I request all the participants, please reply in the chat box. What is the reflection for role of Bloom's taxonomy in teaching learning?
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yes, maybe, madam, can you share in the chat box, madam, so that it will be.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. If you reflect, then it will be very effective for further discussions. To give input to understanding of the students, help to achieve outcome-based education. Help to achieve outcome-based education. It lays a framework for understanding the different level of learning. Really, I'm very happy to know about your reflection. Anyway, I will discuss from the basics for the benefit of all the participants. Student can realize what they learned. Very good. Actually, following the convention of the American Psychological Association in 1948, Benjamin Bloom took a lead in formulating classification of the goals of the educational process. He and their team, 12 members, they started working on how to classify the knowledge into different levels of complexity. They have almost took 8 years of research. In 1956, they came out with a wonderful model for classification of knowledge domain. For example, this is the structure for knowledge domain. It consists of 6 levels of increasing order of complexity, starting from knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In order to classify the knowledge into 6 levels, he did lot of groundwork. In fact, Benjamin Bloom dedicated his entire life for improving the quality of education. He completed his bachelor's, master's, and PhD in the field of education. In 1942, he joined as an assistant examiner in University of Chicago. It is something similar to deputy controller in our Indian context. We all know that the role of controller of examination is mainly to collect question paper from different experts for conducting university examination. Then by conducting the examination, then valuing the answer script, finally declaring the results. He spent almost 6 years in the capacity of assistant examiner in one of the large university at the time, the University of Chicago. During that 6 years of experience, he found a lot of inconsistencies and problems in examination system during that point of time. Based on that only, he wanted to propose a formal classification method for knowledge. In fact, he identified that why each and every answer script was evaluated by more than one expert. Because during that time, it is multiple evaluation, not single evaluation. Each answer script will be evaluated by 3 individuals independently. Based on that 3 experts evaluation, the final mark will be awarded. During his experience, he found that why the differences are very high, even though all the 3 experts are experts in their own field, in the field of question paper and valuation. He found a lot of variations. He asked a lot of questions, why it is happening. Then one more thing, why different students are writing different answer for the same question. Because during that point of time, we don't have such a wonderful information era. Students are mainly depends on the material given by the faculty. Therefore, he raised 2 important questions. One is why different students are writing different answer for the same question. Why different experts are giving different marks for the same answer. He found that there is an inconsistency in communication because the question paper is not properly communicating the information to all the students. Similarly, the expectations for each and every question is different among the faculty. That is why the difference is happening. That is why different experts are giving different marks. Different students are writing different answer for the same question. Therefore, he wanted to define, he wanted to propose a knowledge for education, global language for education. Bloom's taxonomy is considered to be educational language among educators, means of communication to maintain consistency. Therefore, Bloom's taxonomy can be considered as a global language for education. Whoever is in the teaching field, whether they are the faculty member or head of the department or principal or whatever may be the capacity, whenever you are in the education field, not only faculty, curriculum designer and student, they must also know this language. Then only we are able to have consistent communication. If you take educational setting, there are number of communications possible. The faculty member communicate to the student, student will communicate to the faculty. There may be a communication between the faculty, one faculty to other faculty during question paper setting, during discussion with respect to the syllabus and so on. Similarly, there may be a communication among the students with respect to technical concept. Therefore, only 4 different communications are possible: faculty to student, student to faculty, between faculty and between students. In all these communication related to technical, if you use regional language, it may be English or any other regional language, the interpretation for each and every word among the faculty and student will be different. That is why the difference is happening. In order to avoid that, we need to propose a new language for education. That language is nothing but Bloom's taxonomy. Therefore, Bloom's taxonomy is not like a simple triangle with the 6 levels. We should not consider like that. You cannot assume Bloom's taxonomy is only for question paper setting. It can be used for all the activities in teaching learning. Whatever, it may be a curriculum design, it may be writing course outcome, program outcome, COPO mapping. It can be used for selecting the best delivery method for a particular course outcome. It can be used for selecting the best assessment tool for the particular course outcome. It can also be used for proposing the improvement activities for achieving the outcome. In other words, for implementing outcome-based education, Bloom's taxonomy can be considered as a tool for effective implementation of Bloom's taxonomy. With that note, let us formally discuss the different levels of knowledge domain. In fact, Bloom's in 1948, he proposed the learning comprises of three domains, three interactive domains, namely knowledge domain or cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. Each and every individual, whether we are formally introduced any learning activities or informally involved in any activity, our learning may be in cognitive, affective, or psychomotor. Other name for cognitive is knowledge domain. Affective domain means it is a behavioral domain. It is related to feeling and appreciation. The psychomotor domain is skill domain, the manner in which we are coordinating our motor skills in order to do some physical activities. Therefore, there are three domains of learning. In short, it is called by KSA. If you see that KSA, K for knowledge, S for skill, A for affective domain. Therefore, whenever you come across learning, we should understand the learning may be in knowledge or in affective domain or psychomotor domain. But they are not independent to each other. They are actually overlapped domain. Whenever your knowledge is getting improved, automatically or parallelly, your affective domain is also getting improved. Whenever you involved in psychomotor activity, the corresponding cognitive domain, affective domain is also getting changed. Therefore, they are not independent. I request all the participants, please mute your mic. I'm getting a lot of crosstalk. Knowledge domain is symbolically represented by brain. Affective domain is symbolically represented with the help of heart. Psychomotor domain is symbolically represented by physical movement. Whenever knowledge is getting improved, that is coming across cognitive domain. Whenever your value for a particular activity is getting improved, your feeling, whenever you are appreciating something, automatically you are giving higher value for that particular activity or particular knowledge. Psychomotor, whenever you do some physical activity, that is psychomotor domain. First, Benjamin Bloom took knowledge domain. He almost spent 8 years of active research in order to propose this model. This model is actually 8 years of research by the team of educational psychologists. According to this model, we have 6 levels of cognitive domain, namely knowledge domain, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Bloom's has clearly defined the expectations for each and every level. In order to say somebody in knowledge level 1 or knowledge level 2, what we should expect from them. If the particular person satisfies that expectation, automatically we will say that he is in level 2 or level 3. Therefore, whenever you try to follow Bloom's taxonomy, we need to have a clear-cut understanding of expectations for each and every level. I will try to give the expectations now. The expectations in various levels. Knowledge means the ability to recall, remember facts even without clear understanding. Therefore, if you want to say somebody in level 1, we should expect whether he is able to recall, remember facts even without clear understanding. If somebody is able to recollect the information from his long-term memory, some factual information, then I will say he is in number 1, level 1 with respect to this topic. For the level 2 comprehension, the expectation is ability to interpret and able to write on their own. If somebody is able to interpret the meaning of the information and able to write on their own, then only we'll say he is in level 2. That means it is not simply memorizing the textbook information. He or she should be able to interpret, physically interpret the meaning of the information. He should be able to write on their own. Then only we'll accept somebody in level 2. For level 3, the expectation is the ability to use the concept to solve problems in new situations. Whenever individual use the already learned concept to solve problems in new situation, then I will accept somebody in application level. Here the new situation is very important. It is not already exposed situation. If the student try to solve the problems that are already discussed in the classroom, then I will not accept he or she in application level. Whenever the students are able to solve new problem that was not already discussed in the assignment or tutorial or even in the classroom, then only I will appreciate he or she in application level or third level. Then fourth level, the ability to break down the information into tiny components, looking for interrelationship and organization of information. If somebody is able to break down the information to tiny components, looking for interrelationship and organization of information, it is not applying one time. For analysis, we need to apply the concept in many situations. Among the results obtained, we should be able to correlate. We should be able to get some meaningful conclusion. Then only it is analysis. In Tamil, there is a saying that akku vera aani vera pitch edukkirathu. That is nothing but analysis. All troubleshooting studies are analysis. If you are able to troubleshoot a program written by some individual, then you are in the analysis level. Synthesize is the ability to put parts together. If you are able to comprehend the information, you are putting together the concept in order to propose a new concept, then it is called synthesize. In synthesizing means we are learning different concepts from different courses, a different subject matter. Finally, by combining these information, if you are able to propose a new knowledge, then it is synthesized. Then finally, evaluation means the ability to judge the value of information. If you are able to judge the value of information you have, then you are at the highest level of knowledge. Therefore, in order to use Bloom's taxonomy, in order to appreciate Bloom's taxonomy, first we need to be very clear in the expectations for each and every level. Then only we are able to properly evaluate ourselves as a faculty, what is our level in each and every topic. Then only we can deliver the information very confidently in the classroom. It is not only applicable to students, it is also applicable to faculty. Before going to the classroom, first we need to self-assess, apply the Bloom's taxonomy with respect to our own knowledge. What is the ability of our knowledge with respect to a particular topic? Then only we are able to properly deliver information in the classroom. Now I wanted to ask a very simple question. In your opinion, what is the level of knowledge in our maybe most of the students in our current context? Maybe in our colleges, students are getting graduated in each and every year. Number of students are awarded BE degree. In your opinion, what is the knowledge level of students graduated from various engineering colleges in India? Whether they are in level 2 or level 3 or level 1, level 4, level 5 or level 6. What is your opinion? Maybe please reflect in the chat box. In your opinion, maybe you can take your own case study in your college. Okay, the graduated student, what is the level of most of the, it's not one group of students, most of the students knowledge level, not one subject, most of the subjects. I think I'm getting K3, K2, K2. Maybe all of you, please reply. It's very, very important question I'm asking. Somebody is saying K0 to K1. There is no K0, sir. Gajendran Parthasarathi, sir. There is no K0. I could not understand. What is K0?
That is the exceptional case. They are not studying at all, sir. That's why I'm going to
Okay.
CKG.
Okay. Very good, sir. I think you are able to give some level K2. I think you are correct. According to the World Bank survey conducted in the year 2012, conducted by World Bank, they have conducted the survey to identify the knowledge level of most of the graduates coming out of various engineering colleges in India. It is not with respect to one college. They have collected from 550 colleges in India. From that study, they have identified that it is in between K1 to K2, very close to K2. Most of the students' knowledge levels are in K2. Maybe some students' knowledge, maybe very little students are having the knowledge level of K3. Therefore, maybe I want to ask why it is happening. Because if you define engineering, engineering is nothing but application of science for the development of maybe humanity. We will be applying scientific concept. We'll be producing certain products, or we are developing certain products for the betterment of humanity. Therefore, the expectation, the minimum expectation for engineering, practicing engineering in industries is K3. Whenever you are able to apply your concept to new problems, then only you are able to practice as an engineer. Because in engineering, each and every day, the engineers are exposed to new situations. They cannot say, I was not familiar with this situation because that was not discussed in my 4 years of engineering education. Whatever they know, that concept should be properly applied to the current situation. They should be able to get meaningful solution. Therefore, without the level of application, it is very, very difficult to practice engineering. That is why, because our students are at K2 level, most of the students are K2, they could not be able to meet the expectations of core industries, because they expect at K3 level minimum. Our students are at K2 level. Therefore, there is a large gap between students' ability and the ability expected from the engineering industry. Even I wanted to ask one question from all the participants. What is the level of question normally asked in GATE examination? In GATE examination, what is the level of question? Whether they are asking in K1 level, K2 level, K3 or K4 level, what kind of question they are asking? Not all the questions are K3. They are asking some question K3 definitely. But if you refer the GATE question, it covers the spectrum of K2, K3, K4. K2, K3, K4. Very good. I think Mani Maran, you are really great. In fact, 50% of questions in K2, maybe the remaining 50 may be dedicated to K3 and K4. In each year, they are asking differently, but generally speaking, major weightage is given to K2. It may be 40 or 45%, sometimes it may be 50% also. The remaining percentage is shared among K3 and K4. Therefore, if your students are very confident in K2, they can get at least 40% mark in GATE examination. If they are also at the level of K3, definitely they will be getting 60 or 65%. Now, our students are not able to get very high GATE score, but same students are able to get very high percentage of mark in university examination. Why? Normally, the K1 level question is very, very less, sir. It is not 35%. They are not asking K1 level questions in GATE examination. More weightage is to K2, not K1. If you refer GATE question, K1 is almost nil. Maybe in some question, they may ask 5%. Without understanding, very, very difficult to get GATE score. Now, why there is a large differences between university examination and GATE examination? Why? Any idea? Any reflection on that?
Both are at two extreme levels. GATE
No,
questions are on a very high level.
no. Actually, in GATE question, they are very clear. We need to set the question paper in different learning levels. They are very clear. K2 level, that much amount of percentage mark. K3 level, that much amount of percentage, and K4 level, that much amount of percentage. Also, they know that for each and every level, how to set the question paper. They are very clear. But in university examination, we have only part A, part B, part C. Big question, small question. There is no, maybe we are not classifying the question with respect to knowledge level. Therefore, the moment you apply Bloom's taxonomy in assessment, we should categorize the question into knowledge levels. Automatically, the quality will improve because students are studying only for getting higher mark in the examination. If you want to get high score in GATE examination, your way of preparation should be something different. Because our university questions are very simple. There is no need to spend a lot of time and energy because most of the questions are K1, K2. Sometimes it may be K3. There is no clear demarcation in percentage with respect to the knowledge level. Therefore, Bloom's taxonomy is very, very important, not only for question paper setting, also for various teaching learning activities in education. We have a Bloom's triangle. According to the Bloom's triangle, the knowledge, comprehension, applications are very, very basic. The other three levels are just above that. The differences between analysis, synthesis, evaluation will be very, very little. Even though it is in hierarchy, almost they are in same level only. Therefore, once you are able to apply the concept to solve new problems, automatically we are in a position to go to the next level. The next level may be analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In 1956, they proposed old Bloom's taxonomy. After 40 years of successful implementation of Bloom's taxonomy, in 1996, one of the former students of Benjamin Bloom's, L.W. Anderson, collected survey opinion from the professors who have applied Bloom's taxonomy for various teaching learning practices, collected feedback from experts. Based on the feedback, he wants to modify the original Bloom's taxonomy because a lot of apprehension from the experts, a lot of appreciation also. He collected a lot of negative feedback or apprehensions from the professors in order to revise Bloom's taxonomy. For that, he took almost 4 years of his dedicated time. In 2000, he came out. I request all the participants, please mute your mic. Organizers, can you mute all the participants' mic?
Yes, sir. We'll take care, sir. Sorry, sir.
Maybe after spending 4 years of time, he proposed a revised Bloom's taxonomy, L.W. Anderson and Rothwell. According to the revised Bloom's taxonomy, we have 6 levels, same 6 levels. The names are getting changed. In fact, if you refer the old Bloom's taxonomy, all are nouns. In the revised Bloom's taxonomy, all are verb. The names are getting changed. The knowledge is changed into remember. Comprehension is changed into understand. There is a level shift between fifth and sixth level. Synthesize becomes highest level with the name change of create. Evaluation is now fifth level. Therefore, if you see that all the nouns are converted to verb, name change for knowledge, comprehension, synthesize, the level change for fifth and sixth. Here, after this change, we are going to call remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create, because it is very, very high action verb. The name itself clearly indicates the expectation. Here in the original Bloom's taxonomy, we have defined the expectation for each and every level. But here, the name itself clearly indicates remember means ability to remember. Understand means ability to understand the concept. Apply, analyze, evaluate, create something new. Evaluating means judging. Therefore, the ability is very clear just by seeing the name. After 2000, 2001, in most of the universities, the revised Bloom's taxonomy is very popular. They are using for various teaching learning activities. Here, the first three can be categorized into LOTS, lower order thinking skills. The highest three, analyze, evaluate, create, refers to higher order thinking skill. Our students are not able to have the higher order thinking skill. That is why in 2018, AICTE came out with a new examination reform policy. They are asking us to use open book test and different activities for testing students' knowledge in higher order thinking skills. Maybe if you refer examination reform policy of AICTE, they have given a lot of ideas for getting higher order thinking skills. It is a staircase structure. In order to develop create level students, we should start from remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate. Finally, we can reach to create level, increasing order of rigor. Whenever you move from remember to create, the level of complexity is increasing. I request all the participants, please read this statement.
Yes, sir. We did it.
We must remember a concept before we can understand it. We must understand a concept before we can apply it. We must be able to apply a concept before we can analyze it. We must have analyzed a concept before we can evaluate it. We must have remembered, understood, applied, analyzed, evaluated. Then only we are in a position to create a new knowledge. In order to practice this Bloom's taxonomy in educational setting, Bloom's has recommended action verb for each and every level, so that we are able to practice in writing the question paper, maybe setting the question paper, while writing the COs and program outcome. We are able to use these keywords for effective practice of different levels. For example, for remember level, normally we will use define, state, list, recall, fill. These are all some of list. These are some of the keywords normally used for first level. Define, state, list, recall. These are some of the keywords normally used for the first level. Then for the second level, understand, we'll use explain, describe, illustrate, paraphrase, convert, interpret. all classify. These are all some of the popular keywords or action verb for second level. Similarly, for the third level, we can use apply, use, solve, calculate, compute. Very popular words for the third level. When it comes to fourth level, we can use analyze. We can also use organize. We can use justify. In addition to these three keywords, whatever keyword we used for the understand level, same thing can be used for the analyze level, but with justification. We need to add with justification. Then for evaluate level, we can use evaluate, judge, choose, select. These are all the popular keywords for the evaluation level. Then finally, for create level, we can use create, propose, produce. All these things are for highest level. Therefore, with respect to the defined abilities for all the 6 levels, recommended action verb put together, we are calling it as a Bloom's dictionary. Bloom's dictionary is nothing but the defined abilities for each and every level and corresponding action verb for each and every level together constitute a dictionary. For each and every college or institution, we should have a dictionary that should be mutually accepted by all the stakeholders. We need to formally share that dictionary among the, in order to have a proper consistency among the faculty and students. With that, I wanted to stop my discussion on knowledge domain. We have 2 more domains. If you have any doubt in Bloom's taxonomy in knowledge domain, I am very happy to take your questions at that point of time. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next 2 topics. One is affective domain, and third one is psychomotor domain. Any question at that point of time? Numerical problem comes under K2 or K3. It is not a numerical problem. If the problem is already discussed in the classroom or in the tutorial assignment, if you ask same problem in the examination, it may be in K2 because already the problem is exposed to the student. If the problem is new, in the sense that he has to apply the concept, then it will be K3. Therefore, all familiar problems are K2. All unfamiliar, unknown situations are K3. In other words, up to K2, all are familiar. K3 and above, all are unfamiliar, totally new. Even the student answers the answer by memorizing the steps, then it is only K1 level. If we solve the problem in the examination by using calculator by step, then we can understand K2. Therefore, depending upon the way in which students are answering the question, either he may be at K1 level or K2 level or K3 level. The complexity is not time used by the student. Sometimes well-known maybe derivation, very well-known derivation, it may take half an hour, okay, because it's a very lengthy derivation. It doesn't mean that it is of high complexity. It is only understand level. Sometimes the time may take only 5 to 10 minutes. It may be of higher level complexity. Therefore, it is not related to the time spent by the student. It is the level of activity, the level of thinking. Sometimes if you ask only simple question, the student will answer the question without spending time. He will be continuously writing. If somebody, let us assume that some X or Y set the question paper for some examination. Students simply seeing the question and writing the answer continuously without any break. Can you guess the level of complexity of the question? He is not at all thinking. He is continuously writing without any time to think. Then what could be the level of knowledge?
K2, sir.
K1 or K2 means he has to write on his own, sir. Whenever you are testing the student at K2 level, he has to illustrate his own example, his own writing. Therefore, he is not thinking, he is not spending some time. After seeing the question, he is writing continuously without thinking even for some time. Then it is very, very low level, K1 level. That means he memorized everything. He's simply reproducing the content in the textbook. That may be K1. If he is taking some time to answer before answering the question, he's taking some time. That is K2. If he takes more time for thinking, what kind of equation we need to apply, what kind of data they have given, some tricky problem, definitely it may be K3 or K4. Therefore, if your higher level questions give lot of loading, that's called cognitive loading to the student. I wanted to give you a very simple analogy. Let us take a weightlifter. He wants to lift the empty bar. How much physical effort he has to put in order to lift the bar, empty bar, horizontal bar, without loads, without any load on both sides. It's very, very less weight. Therefore, he can lift the bar without any much effort. If you add some weight, maybe 10 kg both sides, definitely he has to put some effort. If you add more weights, automatically he has to put lot of his energy in order to lift bar maybe vertically. In a similar manner, if you ask higher level questions, automatically we are putting lot of load on the human brain. That is called cognitive loading. Actually, Bloom's has applied the concept of cognitive loading in order to classify knowledge into 6 levels. That means when you ask higher level question, automatically we are giving lot of loading to our cognitive. I think with that note, let us move on to the other 2 domains because we have only less time. Next, we discuss about affective domain. Affective domain is very, very important in the sense that affective domain is very important in the sense that we are going to our character, our behavior is mainly characterized with the help of this affective domain. According to the Benjamin Bloom's, affective domain consists of 5 levels: receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, internalizing, or characterizing or characterization. Receive, respond, value, organize, internalize. Before discussing this affective domain, one must understand what is affective domain. Affective domain is priority, values set by each and every student or faculty for various activities. If you are giving higher value for one activity, that means your value for that activity is very high. If your value is very less, you will be physically present, mentally absent. Actually, human being at any point of time, we have so many activities to do. We are a multitasking machine, like a Windows operating system. We are opening different windows in our mind. Depending upon the priority set by your priority system, at a time, one activity will be in progress, other activity will be in sideline. Therefore, depending upon the value system only, you are going to do one activity at any point of time. Therefore, in order to actively participate in the classroom, in order to effectively deliver information in the classroom, affective domain is important for faculty as well as student. Okay. According to the Benjamin Bloom's, the ability of the individual for willing to pay attention and listen with respect, that is called first level. Receiving means learner is willing to pay attention and listen with respect. Then only I will say somebody in level 1 of affective domain. Responding, learner actively participate in the class discussions, actively responds and participate in the discussion. That is called level 2. Level 2 places value on a behavior, idea, person, situation. You try to attach some value on a behavior, idea, or person, or situation, etc. That is a value system. We started practicing the new value or new activity or new knowledge. Then organization prioritize values and resolves conflicts between them. Maybe in the extended time, if you are giving consistent priority for one new activity, that is called organization. Then finally, if you are consistently giving higher priority for one activity, that is called internalizing value system. Therefore, there are 5 levels starting from receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, internalizing. Receiving means willing to receive the information without any constraint or any bottleneck or any prejudice. If somebody is in the classroom with the open mind, if he is receiving the information, then he or she in level 1. Sitting in the classroom, if he or she is thinking some other thing, this topic is not important, this topic is not relevant to me, why I have to listen to that, like that he is thinking differently, then he is not in the receiving mode. The receiving mode means open-endedly receiving the information. Responding means if somebody is actively involved in problem solving, maybe discussion, some active learning, all writing the notes in the classroom, these are all called responding. Responding not only in the classroom, even beyond the classroom also we can respond to the whatever stimuli in the classroom. Maybe we may be going to the library to refer some textbook. We may be Googling it in order to get some additional information related to the topic that was discussed in the classroom. We may be attending some conferences, buying textbook and so on. These are all extended activity. Therefore, responding is not only in the classroom, even beyond the classroom also we can respond to the activity. After responding, we started giving value to that new knowledge or new person or new activity. That is called valuing. Maybe after some time also, consistently, if you are started giving values for that particular new concept, then you are started organizing in your value system. Because we have only 24 hours in each and every day, we need to do a lot of activities. Whenever new activities coming to the system, your system will not take it just like that. There will be a quarrel between the existing activity and new activity. Unless otherwise new activity is consistently occupies, then only it is going to be the permanent list in your system. Even after that, if you are consistently giving priority or value for that new activity, automatically it is going to be your character. Now you may wonder, what is the role of this affective domain for the faculty members, whether it is useful to us? Can you reflect on this? What is the role of affective domain for the faculty? Whether it is useful? Because already we know that knowledge domain is very useful because we are able to use knowledge domain for writing the course outcome, writing, maybe selecting the delivery method, setting the question paper and so on. In most of the activities, we are using knowledge domain. Now, what is the role of affective domain? Is it useful to us? Any idea? Any reflection on that? Are you familiar with the affective? First of all, are you familiar with the affective domain? Or first time you are hearing affective domain?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why unable to reply, sir.
Okay. Anyway, whether are you able to understand it or not now? You need further explanation for this?
Sir, but again, here we are showing this again the same 6 levels, no, sir.
No, no, only 5 levels, not all the level. Only 5 levels. If you see my PPT, only 5 levels are there. Knowledge domain is intellectual. You are knowing new concept. That is something different. Maybe I will ask one question. I love mathematics. Whether it is affective domain statement or knowledge domain statement. Somebody says, I love mathematics. I love to solve
Affective, sir.
mathematical equation. Why it is affective domain?
Related to mood or feeling.
Mood. Because feeling, my happiness, my attitude, my behavior.
Yes, sir.
Somebody says, I don't like mathematics. எனக்கு மேக்ஸ் பிடிக்காதுன்னு சொல்றாரு. இது வந்து நாலேஜ் டொமைன்ல ஆன்சர் பண்றாரா, அஃபெக்டிவ் ஆன்சர் பண்றாரா?
The same affective domain, sir.
Yes, therefore, if somebody says, எனக்கு வந்து இன்ஜினியரிங் வந்து பிடிக்கவே பிடிக்காது. Day one itself, he knows, I don't like engineering, but somehow, because of my parental pressure, I was forcefully joined in engineering education. With that motivation, he is sitting in the classroom. Whether knowledge will be accumulated or not. With the negative mindset, somebody is sitting in the classroom. என்ன ஆகும்?
Never he will.
Therefore, we need to know the affective domain, then only we can motivate our students in the classroom so that we can make them in the receiving mode. Before verifying all your students, whether they are in the receiving mode or not, if somebody is delivering information, then it is not useful. First, we need to verify whether students are ready to receive the information, whether they are positive. We need to do something in the classroom. We need to spend some time, maybe 2 to 3 minutes or 5 minutes. After confirming most of the students are in the receiving mode, then you started delivering your technical knowledge. Therefore, the role of affective is very, very important to plan your scheduling, to plan your session. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir. Clearly.
Okay. Yes. Maybe I will ask one question. One faculty, let us take 2 different faculty members. One faculty is X, other faculty is Y. X faculty is going to the class. He is going to spend 2 to 3 minutes. Why this topic? Importance of the topic. ஏன் நீங்க இது படிக்கணும்? Okay, whether you have studied any other topic related to this topic in your earlier maybe schooling or in earlier semester. If you know this, whether it will have any impact in the upcoming courses or not. In your engineering practice, maybe after 4 years, whenever you are going to work as engineer in your professional career, whether this knowledge will be useful to you. Like that, he is saying some useful information. After spending 2 to 3 minutes with clear-cut examples, he started giving that information. That is faculty X. Faculty Y, he is going to the class 9 o'clock, started delivering the information at ultra speed, no break, 9 to 9:45, completely delivering all the PPTs without any, classroom is silent. Okay. Whether faculty X is delivering effective information or faculty Y is delivering effective information in the classroom.
Obviously, X, sir.
Why? But in the first class, lot of sound, noise, lot of discussion. The second class, very, very pin drop silence. First faculty discusses only 10 PPTs. The second faculty delivers 60 PPTs. Class is absolute noiseless. If somebody maybe X or Y outside the class, he will say he is he is controlling the class very effectively. That the X faculty is not able to control the class. He may comment like that. Whether his comment is correct?
Sir, but outcome in Y will be lesser than the X because
no.
of this.
No. Outcome is with respect to learning only. It is not how many PPTs you covered. That is not outcome. Okay. The outcome is whether students are able to understand the concept or not. There is outcome-based education. In outcome-based education, the role of faculty is not covering the curriculum. It is the role of faculty to verify whether students are able to understand the concept or not. Whether out of 60 students in the classroom, 45 students are able to understand this concept. That is outcome statement. Therefore, in order to follow outcome-based education as a faculty, I should know not only knowledge domain, I should also know affective domain. Then only I am able to plan my activities. Thereby, I am able to get my outcome. Now, let us once again ask one question. How many participants are in the receiving mode now? I am asking a difficult question. Anyway, just I wanted to give example. How many of you in the receiving mode? Please respond in the chat box. I could see there are some 60 plus participants. 62 participants are there in this. How many? Whether you, all of you, please reply whether you are in the receiving mode or not. Please answer to this question. Receiving mode. The receiving mode expectation is willing to receive the information without any bottleneck, without any constraint, without any prejudice. Open-endedly receiving the information. If you are saying yes, you have to give your time, the present time, to only this particular discussion. If somebody is receiving but he is thinking something different, then he or she not in the receiving mode. Receiving mode means 100% you should be in this lecture. Is it clear now? Now, what do you mean by responding now? How many of you in the responding? Responding means the expectation is willing to participate in the classroom discussions. Not only in the classroom, even after this session is over, if somebody is going to refer about whatever we discussed now, maybe in the Google, or you can refer some textbook, you may discuss with your fellow friends, then you are in the responding mode. Now I am going to ask, how many of you is going to be in the responding mode? Some of you may be already in the responding. Others may be after attending this seminar, you may be in your free time. Only after responding, you will be moving to the value. Value means started practicing. I am now discussing affective domain. After responding, if some of the faculty members going to follow this methodology in his own delivery. Next day, if you are going to classroom, if you are going to use this affective domain in your classroom, then you are started valuing this Bloom's taxonomy, because you know the value, you are started practicing. Not one day. If you are able to consistently practice for one semester, then automatically you are in the organization. Not only for one semester, throughout your career, I know the importance of this Bloom's taxonomy. I will follow it. You are able to follow it. Then your character, you have internalized the value system. Thereby, in your career, whenever you are going to teach it, always you will use Bloom's taxonomy. Are you able to understand now? Is it clear? I took this as an example for demonstrating the role of affective domain.
Yes, sir.
Now, how to practice affective domain in the classroom? Affective domain means we need to start with the affective domain. First, we need to address the students in affective domain. we need to do some example. We need to do something in the classroom before delivering the technical information to the class. Maybe 2 to 3 minutes. If all, after confirming all are alert, all the students are started receiving, then you deliver it. Then after delivering for 10 minutes, you have to break your lecture, give some activity. Maybe it may be a small problem solving or question and answer, doubt clarification, some discussion. That is to move the students to the responding mode. First, we have confirmed all are receiving mode. You have delivered something. Then after 10 minutes, some break. You are giving some activity so that students are able to participate in the classroom discussion. Thereby, you are moving from, you are controlling your students from receiving to responding. If you give someone assignment related to the problem discussed in the classroom, maybe homework, automatically you are attaching value to the knowledge. The students will be attaching value to the knowledge by means of giving homework, extended activities. If the students are very much interested in that particular topic, automatically they will give lot of values to that new topic on his own. Therefore, they are able to move from value, organize, and finally characterize. Now tell me, the role of faculty is very, very important in changing the affective domain of students. If you address the student only in the knowledge domain, then only self-motivated students' behavior will change. They will give value for the new knowledge. But other students, they will not attach value because they don't know the value of the knowledge that was delivered in the classroom. Therefore, as a faculty, I have to control, I have to plan my session. I need to do something in my classroom. Then only parallelly, because our role is not simply delivering the knowledge. We should parallelly change the attitude of students. That should go one-to-one, parallelly. Then only most of the students' knowledge will be at a very high level. For that, normally we will use one of the important model that is called the ARCS model to practice affective domain and knowledge domain in the classroom. Otherwise, integrating affective domain, knowledge domain in the classroom, we will be using the model called ARCS. ARCS model is one of the famous instructional delivery model or instructional design model. By using this model, automatically we are able to combine it according to ARC. A for attention, R for relevance, C for confidence, S for satisfaction. 4 different stages in the classroom. If you have 45 minutes, some time should be dedicated to attention. A means attention. The attention is you need to do something in the classroom so that all the students are able to attend, maybe in the attentive mode. After that, we need to give relevance. Why this topic is very important? We need to give some relevance to the topic of discussion. Then confidence. We need to deliver the information in a confident manner. We need to students need to give, maybe they should take some problems. There may be some discussions so that they will be confident at the end of the delivery. Then after that, after the end of the class, they should be satisfied. They should satisfy themselves. Now, after attending this 45 minutes class, I am able to solve this problem. I know this concept. And now I am very confident. That is called satisfaction. Okay. Therefore, by following ARCS model, we are able to automatically integrate knowledge domain and affective domain in the classroom by giving some time. But normally very, very small time will be given to this attention relevance. Normally maximum 5 minutes. If you have 45 minutes class, 5 minutes for A and R. For confidence, they will spend almost 35 minutes. The remaining 5 minutes will be given at the end of the classroom for satisfaction. Therefore, 5 minutes for A and R, 2 minutes for A, 3 minutes for R, 35 minutes for confidence, then remaining 5 minutes for satisfaction. By planning your time for various components of this model, we are able to integrate automatically. This is called micro planning or micro teaching. I think with that, we will move on to the next discussion. The next discussion will be psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain. Before going to discuss it, first we need to understand what is psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain means if you are able to do some physical activity with the help of your brain command. Brain is controlling our physical activities. With the help of our brain command, you are able to do physical activity, then it is called psychomotor activity or psychomotor skill. Maybe I want to give some examples. Running, swimming, cycling, driving, all are psychomotor activities, general psychomotor activities. Now, with respect to engineering education, because we are all engineers, we are delivering instruction for engineering students. With respect to engineering education, can you identify any psychomotor activities in engineering education? Can you identify any psychomotor activity in engineering education?
The lab sessions.
Maybe I want to have a pinpointed action, sir. Not lab is very general answer. I'm expecting pinpointed answer. Just cycling, swimming, like that. Can you identify exact activity? Maybe take mechanical engineering. In mechanical engineering, any skill activity, psychomotor skill. Drawing is a psychomotor activity. Welding. Mechanical workshop. Conducting some experiment CNC machine, 3D printing. All are psychomotor activity. If it's a civil engineering, surveying, drawing, presenting some information, communication skill. Maybe if it is electrical engineering,
Troubleshooting.
troubleshooting, fabrication of electronic circuit. Maybe conducting some experiments in electrical machines lab, electronics lab. Those things are psychomotor activities. Very good. I could be able to get a lot of responses. Very good. Now, we should have very good idea about psychomotor activities, how it is classified, just like knowledge domain and skill affective domain. Now we are going to categorize psychomotor domain. Psychomotor domain consists of simple to complex psychomotor activity, starting from perception, set, guided response, mechanism, adaptation, origination. Perception, set are very, very primitive activities. Guided response, mechanism are some of the intermediate activities. Adaptation and originations are some high level activities. Let us discuss each and every level in detail. According to perception, the ability to use sensory cues to guide motor activity. If you are able to control your motor activity with the help of sensors in your body. How many sensors we have in our body? How many sensors we have? Any idea?
Plenty of sensors.
In our body, human body.
Fine, sir. Fine, sir.
Very good. If you are able to, after getting information from these sensor, from the input received from the sensor, if you are able to control your hand and leg movement, உங்க கைய கால ஆட்ட முடியுதுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, உங்க பிரெயின் சொல்ற மாதிரி. That is the first level, that is called perception. Then second level is, if you are ready to take a particular course of action physically, emotionally and mentally, then you are in the second level, set. If you are able to do some physical activity, mentally and emotionally ready to do a particular course of work, that is called the second level. Therefore, in the first two level, we are not at all doing any work. Our body is ready to do work. That's all. Only in third level, guided response, here you are going to do some work with the help of somebody. Some instructor is going to give some oral instruction, or with the help of somebody, if you are able to do a physical work, that is called guided response. You are imitating others. With the trial and error only, you are able to do that work. That is called guided response. Then fourth one, learned responses. After some experience, if you are able to do the physical work without any help from others, independently, if you are able to do that work, that is called fourth level mechanism. In fifth level, if you are able to do a complex movement pattern with some high level proficiency, it is not a simple movement pattern like driving or maybe pilot. These are some of the complex movement pattern. If you are able to do that complex movement pattern with some proficiency, that is called complex overt response. Then we have adaptation. If you are able to change the movement pattern while studying, while learning, you are learning with new different activities. After some proficiency, if you are able to change the learned activity for some benefits, then it is called adaptation. Then origination means you are able to create a new movement pattern. Definitely creativity based on highly developed, based on your experience. For the physical work, if you are able to propose your own movement pattern, that is called the highest level of psychomotor activity, that is called origination. Therefore, psychomotor skill consists of 7 levels, starting from perception set. In perception set, we are not at all doing any work. We are ready to do work. In third level, we are doing work with the help of others. In fourth level, we are doing work without any help from others, but it is a simple work. Fifth level, we are able to do some complex response. Sixth level, we are able to do some little bit modification from the learned responses. Then in seventh one, we are able to create new movement pattern for the skillful activity. Are you able to understand the 7 different levels of psychomotor activity? Now I wanted to ask a very simple question. In laboratory, during practice, during the initial period, what is the level of our student, psychomotor level of our student? During laboratory sessions, you are all giving a lot of input to our students. It's not perception. Perception set is very, very primitive. Guided response. Guided response means with the help of our instructor and the faculty, students are able to do some work. That is called third level. But in the examination, what will do? In examination, what they will do? They will do the psychomotor act. Fourth level mechanism. They will do on their own. In most of the psychomotor skill, we are not expecting complex activities or adaptation origination. Only for ITI, because ITI is a very skill-based education. If you take engineering education, it is not that much skill-oriented. It is knowledge-oriented program, but we have certain skills. Therefore, in most of the engineering education, 4-year engineering undergraduate education, we are expecting 4th level of skill. That is more than sufficient. Are you able to follow me?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
I wanted to summarize whatever we discussed in this session. Now I exposed father of education, Benjamin Bloom's. He dedicated his entire life to improvement of education. One of his concept, mastery learning, is a masterpiece. Still, it is one of the very highly appreciated work. Mastery learning. It was proposed in 1964. In his first textbook, Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, Cognitive Domain, that was translated to most of the regional languages next to Bible. It is considered to be Bible for educators, those who are in education, maybe in school level or whatever may be their level of education. We must know this cognitive domain concept of Benjamin Bloom's because it is considered to be educational dictionary. Benjamin Bloom's proposed the concept called learning comprises of 3 domains, namely knowledge domain, skill domain, and affective domain. He first took knowledge domain. After 8 years of active work, in 1956, he proposed classification model for knowledge domain. Later, one of his PhD students and former colleague, they proposed revised Bloom's taxonomy in the year 2001. As of now, revised Bloom taxonomy is one of the gold standard for implementation of various teaching learning activities across the globe. It is considered to be global language for education. Very, very powerful concept. In 1964, almost second concept, affective domain model was proposed by Benjamin Bloom and their groups. It is one of the pioneering model for affective domain. No competition for affective domain model. Even though we have number of competitors for knowledge domain, there is no competition for affective domain. Later in 1971, one of the followers of Benjamin Bloom's, they proposed model for skill domain. Just now we discussed. Therefore, in this 1.5 hour session, I could be able to discuss 3 important domains of learning. We discussed classification model for all the 3 learning domains. Knowledge domain, there are 6 levels. Affective domain, there are 5 levels. Skill domain, there are 7 levels. We need to think this each and every model as a scale. Now I exposed all the participants with the 3 scales. By knowing these 3 scales, by appropriately using these scales for measuring your own knowledge, your own attitude, your own skill, we are able to use the same scale to measure the knowledge of our students, affective values of our students, and psychomotor skill of our student. You may wonder why I am saying scale, because scale is normally used for measuring certain parameters. Okay. Now let us assume that I have a rectangular regular object, notebook. And our notebook, I am asking you to measure the length and breadth of the notebook. What you will do? Let us assume that same notebook is given to you. Same notebook is given to you. I am asking you to measure the length and breadth of the notebook. What you will do now?
We will search for the ruler.
Very good, very good. Let us assume that I am giving ruler for all the participants. With the rule, you are measuring the length and breadth of that notebook. What will be the expected answer? Whether the answer given by the participants will be almost the same or that will be different.
Almost same, sir.
Almost same, sir.
Why it is same?
We are using standard ruler and also the
Ah.
notebooks also.
Now
standard.
I am going to ask a question. Do you have any scale for measuring the knowledge of individuals?
Exams and tests.
Okay. But the so-called exams, the answer script corrected by different experts. Question paper is set by X.
Sir, we understood.
The answer is evaluated by Y. Can you get the same response?
No, sir, never.
Because before the evolution of Bloom's taxonomy, there is no scale for measuring the knowledge of individuals. There is no scale for measuring the attitude of individuals. There is no scale for measuring psychomotoric skill of students. By exposing these scales, we are able to measure the knowledge, skill, attitude of ourselves and to others with this standard manner. Thereby, we are able to minimize inconsistencies in the education. That is why Bloom's taxonomy is considered to be global language for education. I hope I spend useful time with you. Whatever I discussed with you, I hope it will be useful to you. Now I am very happy to take some questions from you. Already time is 11 o'clock. Maybe I am very happy to share maybe questions from you.
Actually, your presentation not like a presentation. You gave one demo how we need to take the class. Sir. Thank you very much, sir. All the thing you have covered in your presentation itself, sir. All the taxonomies.
Thank you. Any other clarification required?
Sir,
I
only
have
one doubt, sir.
Yes.
If it is an open book test, whether shall we follow the same K levels or else in which level we need to focus much? What is the percentage of questions we need to ask? Can you suggest it? Sir?
If you use open book, then automatically you have to verify the student knowledge K3 and above. After giving open book, if you ask simple questions, what is Ohm's law? There is no point here because answer is available in the textbook. Therefore, whenever you are proposing open book, automatically you wanted to test the student knowledge in K3 and above. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, whether the duration need to be increased or decreased?
Yes, that depends on number of questions you are asking. Okay, no need to, if you are conducting open book test, there is no need to put the 10 questions or 15 questions. Even one question is more than sufficient. Okay, one very design question. Even you can give 3 hours or 4 hours. That is more than sufficient. You have to challenge it. Your question should challenge the student. It is not simply taking from the reference textbook.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions from participants? Okay. So, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
On behalf of PhD management, I thank Dr. S. Bhaskar, and he has started with the brief history about Bloom's taxonomy, and he has explained all the 3 levels of learning domain, namely cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain in a detailed manner. And also he has given the demonstration how to practice all the domains in our class. And finally, he has finished with beautifully by comparing the ruler with Bloom's taxonomy. Thank you, sir. The session was very informative, and I hope all the concepts are understood by all the participants, and I believe everyone will implement the same in their career. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for your opportunity. I also thank AACT and IST for sponsoring this wonderful program. Thank you, one and all.
Dear participants, the next session will begin at 11:30 a.m. So please be on time. Please fill the feedback form that has been sent. Thank you.